They hate it more than insults, more than confrontation, even more than being exposed. What truly haunts a narcissist is your silence. Why? Because silence is the one weapon they can't control. It doesn't give them attention. It doesn't feed their ego. It doesn't let them twist your words. And in that quiet space, they suddenly feel small, terrified that the mask they wear is starting to crack. Think about it. Narcissists thrive on reaction. They poke, they provoke, they manipulate, all to see if they still have power over you. But the moment you don't give them that satisfaction, the moment you sit in calm silence, something shifts. You become unpredictable, mysterious, a force they can't manipulate. And here's the paradox. Silence looks weak from the outside, and it is actually one of the strongest forms of resistance. It's not about being passive. It's about being in control, because while they're shouting, scheming, or demanding, you are the one dictating the energy in the room. Now, let me give you a retention trick. Here's something you'll want to stick around for. Later in this video, we'll break down the exact reasons why silence doesn't just irritate narcissists, but destroys the foundation of their control. You'll see why silence becomes their worst nightmare, and how you can use it as your shield without losing your voice or your identity. But for now, I want you to imagine this. You're in a conversation with someone who always needs to win. Every word you say becomes a chess piece they try to flip against you. Then one day, instead of playing their game, you just stop. You look, you breathe, and you say nothing. That pause, that gap, that's the moment they feel powerless. Because in silence, their tricks don't work. Their performance loses its audience, and their greatest fear, the fear of irrelevance, starts seeding at them from the inside out. So here's the question we're going to explore together. What makes silence such a powerful weapon against narcissists? And more importantly, how can you use it without falling into bitterness or guilt? Stay with me, because by the end of this journey, you'll see that silence is not emptiness, it's independence. It's mystery, it's strength. And once you master it, you'll never look at toxic control the same way again. Here's the truth. Narcissists don't fear losing you. They fear losing control over you. See, their entire existence revolves around one thing: supply. Your reactions, your energy, your attention, even your anger, it all feeds them. Think of it like oxygen. The moment you speak, argue, or defend yourself, they inhale it and turn it into fuel. But when you go silent, you cut off their air. This is why silence feels like suffocation to them. They suddenly face themselves without a mirror. And that mirror has always been you, reflecting back their power, their importance, their ability to push your buttons. Remove that reflection, and what's left? An insecure, fragile person terrified of irrelevance. Here's where it gets powerful. Silence doesn't just disarm them, it exposes them. Because without your reaction, their performance crumbles. Imagine an actor on stage giving their best dramatic lines, but there's no audience. No applause, no gasps, just empty seats. How long do you think they'd last before panic sets in? That's what you create with silence. You turn the spotlight away, and suddenly, they're no longer the center of the story. But here's the deeper layer. Silence introduces mystery. They can treat you. They can't predict you. And unpredictability terrifies an narcissist because it strips away their sense of dominance. They thrive on knowing exactly which strings to pull. But when you don't respond, when you refuse to dance to their tune, they're left stumbling in confusion, desperate to regain footing. Now let me keep you hooked with this, because in the next section, we'll dive into something even more shocking: how silence not only weakens their control in the moment, but also rewires the balance of power over time. you'll discover why consistent silence doesn't just irritate narcissists, it haunts them long after you've walked away. But before we move on, remember this: silence is not about revenge. It's about reclaiming your peace. You're not punishing them, you're protecting you. And when you operate from that mindset, silence becomes less about shutting them out and more about opening yourself to freedom. So let me ask you, are you ready to see how silence doesn't just survive against manipulation, but conquers it? Stay with me. The shift is about to get even deeper. At first, silence feels small. Just a pause. Just a moment where you don't reply, don't defend, don't explain. But over time, it becomes something much greater, something that flips the entire game on its head. Because here's the secret: narcissists expect you to react. They count on it. They've rehearsed every scenario where you explode, cry, argue, or plead. They've trained themselves to feed on those emotional outbursts. But silence is the one move they never practiced against. It's the plot twist they didn't see coming. And that's when the power begins to shift. Think of it like tug of war. They pull, you pull. The rope is tight, full of tension. That tension is the energy they crave. But suddenly, you let go of the rope, not in defeat, but in choice. They stumble, they fall. And for the first time, they realize you're not playing anymore. Silence rewrites the script. You're no longer reacting to their chaos. Instead, they're reacting to your calm. They start questioning, what are you thinking? Why aren't you answering? Did I lose them? Do they not care anymore? Their mind spirals, and ironically, your silence becomes the loudest voice in the room. But here's what's most haunting: silence creates distance. And distance creates independence. The narcissist begins to realize they're no longer the center of your world. They're no longer pulling the strings. That realization terrifies them because their greatest fear isn't your anger, it's your freedom. And freedom is exactly what silence gives you. Now, here's a hook to keep you with me. In the next part, we'll uncover the psychological shift that happens inside you when you master silence. Because this isn't just about weakening a narcissist, it's about strengthening yourself. You'll see how silence transforms from a defense mechanism into a source of unstoppable confidence. But before we get there, pause for a second and think. When was the last time you chose silence instead of reacting? Did you notice how much calmer you felt afterward? That's the seed of independence we're about to water in the next section. Stay close, because silence isn't just a shield. It's the beginning of power. Silence is not empty. It's not weakness. It's not avoidance. Silence is space. And in that space, you finally hear the most important voice of all your own. See, when you stop feeding a narcissist with your energy, something powerful begins to happen inside you. You start realizing that you don't need to explain yourself to be understood. You don't need to argue to prove your worth. You don't need to fight to claim your peace. And that's the transformation narcissists fear the most: you becoming independent of their validation. Because here's the truth: they've built a world where your energy sustains them. But silence breaks that cycle. Each moment of quiet gives you back a piece of yourself. And before long, that silence becomes confidence. It becomes clarity. It becomes freedom. Think about this: when you choose not to respond, you're not just withholding words, you're making a statement. A statement that says, I am not yours to control. I belong to myself. That's not weakness. It's power. And here's the surprising part: silence doesn't just weaken them, it strengthens you. You develop emotional resilience. You learn to sit with discomfort without exploding. You discover patience in the middle of provocation. You practice control when chaos tries to pull you in. That's real strength, the kind that doesn't need to be shouted. only lived. Now let me give you a glimpse of what's coming next, because the final piece of this puzzle will tie everything together. In part 5, we'll reveal how silence becomes not just a defense or a source of strength, but a long-term strategy for peace and independence. And at the end, I'll share the natural next step in your journey with a video that will take this lesson even deeper. But before we go there, I want you to feel this truth. Silence is not the absence of power. It's the presence of self-control. And once you master that, no narcissist, no manipulator, no toxic voice can ever hold you hostage again. By now you see the truth. Silence is not just a momentary tactic, it's a lifelong strategy for freedom. Here's why. Narcissists thrive in short battles. They love the argument, the fight, the constant tug of war for attention. But silence shifts the battle into a space they can't survive in time. Over time, your silence sends a clear message: they no longer have control over you. They can try to provoke you, guilt-trip you, or even pretend to change. But when you refuse to react, their grip loosens. Slowly, the chains of manipulation break. And what takes their place? Peace. Not the fragile peace that depends on avoiding conflict, but a deep, steady peace that comes from knowing you're no longer tied to their chaos. This is the ultimate haunting for a narcissist: not your anger, not your tears, but your indifference. Because indifference says, you don't control me anymore. But here's the most beautiful part: silence doesn't just protect you from them, it transforms you. It teaches you to live from a place of strength instead of reaction, clarity instead of confusion, and calm instead of chaos. And if you want to take this transformation even further, I've got the perfect next step for you. Watch this video, Why Inner Peace Escapes Most People. It's going to show you why so many people never find true peace of mind, and how you can. Whether you're looking for spiritual growth, better relationship tips, or even to make someone of you in a healthy way, it's a message you don't want to miss. Because silence is powerful, yes, but silence combined with inner peace, that's unstoppable. So if today's message spoke to you, don't forget to hit subscribe and click like to stay with us here at Wisdom Recorder, your knowledge source. Together, we'll keep uncovering the truths that set you free.